I never even knew that this DS model even existed until a couple of weeks ago. It's called the DS ML. It's weird. It's kind of like an oversized Nintendo DS Lite, but the hardware inside is actually legit original Nintendo hardware, but it's from the original Nintendo DS. So what we've kind of got here is like an original Nintendo DS that's been reshelled with this monster of a case that resembles the DS Lite. Such a strange thing. And when I found out it existed, I had to get my hands on one. Hi and welcome back to the shed. I'm Joe Bleeps and this is the DS ML. Max Light, Massive Light, Medium Light, Mostly Laughable, Mega Lols. Anyway, whatever it stands for, because it doesn't say in the instructions. It is a very curious little beast. Maybe little's not the operative word. It is massive. It's like a completely oversized DS Lite on first glance. And then you start to notice these little telltale hints, like the hinge at the top is shaped exactly like an original DS. And the layout of the slots on the top is exactly like the original DS. And that's no coincidence because it is actually an original DS. It's not a clone. At first glance, and on looking on AliExpress where I found it for sale, it kind of appears to be a clone, but it's not. It's original Nintendo hardware. So if you've been watching my recent videos, you'll know I've been doing a bit of tinkering about with original Nintendo DS consoles and the ability to be able to change the brightness of the screens. So when I found out that the DS ML has got original Nintendo DS hardware inside, I thought it might make for quite an interesting little mod on this one too. So when I ordered it, I was fingers crossed that it had the right hardware inside it, and when it arrived, I was quite excited. The first thing I noticed was it actually looked pretty cool and didn't look too cheap in the way I was expecting. Well, that was until I opened it up. Once you've opened it up, there's those giveaway signs. The quality of the plastic seems similar to those cheap Nintendo DS Lite casings that you can get, but it's not too bad. The disappointment came when I came to switch it on. Yes, it is refurb Nintendo DS hardware inside, but I was really disappointed to see that the top screen had a whole chunk of dead pixels on there. It basically made it unusable. And the lower screen, it kind of had like this funny dimpled, highly glossy texture that's a bit of a giveaway that it was a repro screen in the bottom. And the touchscreen just looked pretty ropey. And also when I'd switched on and then was switching off, there was a lot of ghosting on the bottom screen, a lot of kind of screen burn, or I don't know what it is, but basically as you switch off, the display takes a while to fade. You could tell it wasn't the proper screen. So most people would probably have sent it back at that point, but as you know, I'm not most people. So I was like, I'm going to sort this out. I loaded up the DiagnoSe software on my R4 card because that's got like a little app on it where you can try and bring back to life dead pixels, but that's for where you've got like 1 or 2 pixels. This was a lot of pixels and it didn't work. So I was disappointed. And when it comes to the brightness mod, what you actually need to have in your hardware was the version 2.0 hardware. Now, on another video I'd watched, someone else had got one with that in there, so I was quite optimistic it'd have the later revision hardware. But when I opened up the battery compartment and had a peep inside, it had the same opening that you've got in the original DS to see what model motherboard you got. So again, disappointed when I saw 1.0. It was the original Nintendo DS motherboard, but it's not the one that I needed for the mod that I wanted to do. So I had a bit of a dig around and found the perfect donor. I've got a kind of smashed up, worse for wear, pink original DS that works. The top screen, bottom screen worked. It powered on, it charged, it played games, and on closer inspection, it had the motherboard that I wanted. So my plan was originally that I was going to open this up, I was going to replace the top screen with the top screen out of my pink DS, and while I was at it, I could swap out the motherboard, which is what I did. Opening up the console wasn't too bad, but opening up the top part needed quite a bit of careful prizing. There's a lot of clips in there. I think there's like 8 different plastic clips that you have to prise open. So I got all of those open, opened it up. Long story short, replaced that screen. It was working, kind of ish. It wouldn't quite work. I had to do a lot of wiggling about with the ribbons seatings to get it to work, but it did work. And then when I put it all back together again and tested, it would switch on, the bottom screen came on, and the top screen was just blank. And then the more I saw of the bottom screen, the more I decided I was going to swap that out as well. Now, the thing about the screens is they have the appearance when it's switched off that they're going to be like a DS Lite. That's because the lens on the top and the border around the bottom is the same as you've got on a DS Lite. So the screens inside are original DS and these borders are DS Lite. But again, just like the Repro DS Lite kit, the quality of these was really poor. Like around the edge of the top window, it was like kind of translucent. You could see the black sticky stuff behind and it was uneven. It didn't look great. The border going around the outside edge here was pretty low quality. So what I decided to do as well was have a dig through my old DS Lite bits and pieces and got a lens from a red DS Lite and a border from a red DS Lite and put those on there too. I went through a whole load of troubleshooting that I'm not even going to bother editing into a sequence of what I did really at this point. But what I ended up doing to get to this point, I replaced the top screen, the bottom screen, the ribbon that connects the top and bottom half. Yeah, so when I had this issue of the top screen not displaying, I tried pretty much everything. It turns out the ribbon in between was no good. So I took it all apart again, managed to replace that. The ribbon has to kind of twist around and go through the hinge to fit in place. So that was a bit of a nightmare. It's got the new bottom screen. I took that one out from the pink one as well because it had the touchscreen in pretty good condition and the whole refresh rate and the brightness and everything else of it was much, much better. So I replaced the motherboard, the top screen, the bottom screen, the ribbon that connects the top and bottom screen, and the lens from a DS Lite and the border from a DS Lite. So yeah, the end result's good, but it took me ages to get there and it's a new product. I mean, I should have been able to just get it out of the box, open it up and play with it. So really, I can't recommend this. And if you've seen it and if you're tempted and you're prepared to put the work in and deal with the disappointment, as I say, as it is now, I quite like it. It's quite good fun. Another nice thing about this is with the original DS, there wasn't this sort of dust cover for the GBA slot. It was just left open like this. And also, unlike the DS Lite, your GBA cartridges actually fit flush. So for playing GBA, it's pretty cool. So as I say, now it's up to this stage. I actually quite like it. There's something really dorky about it that I just really quite like. I can't resist. I've played a lot of Zookeeper. I've played a lot of Tetris DS on it. And the ergonomics are pretty good. It is quite comfortable to hold. The buttons aren't too bad. They do feel a bit cheap. Unfortunately, you can't swap out the buttons for the buttons in an original DS. The openings for those are different, so you're stuck with the ones that are in there. But yeah, I mean, now I've got to this stage, it's okay. But, you know, most people haven't got a full original DS with the right motherboard sitting in one drawer and then the parts from the DS Lite that you'd need to swap over in another drawer. I understand that, and I want to make that clear in the video that if you buy one of these and you have got faults, you might be better just sending it back. I think it's a shame. It's almost like a missed opportunity. I find that trying to get hold of replacement shells for the original DS is difficult, and the quality of those original shells isn't that great. So if you could buy these as replacement shell kits, I would be all over them. You only have to look at these bits here from when I was taking apart the pink DS to know how fragile that plastic gets. So to have an interesting novelty replacement case for it would be really good. I don't know, maybe in time the shells for these will appear on the market. I'll keep my fingers crossed for that, and if they turn up, I will be buying a load. I was really surprised to see when I was doing a bit of digging that these things first started surfacing around 10 years ago. I saw Reddit posts and YouTube videos that, you know, that featured this around 10 years ago. So it's been around for a long time, and I never even knew it existed. And if you never knew it existed before, well, now you do. Have I put you off getting one? Are you planning on getting one now you've seen this? Would the dodginess put you off, or is that part of its appeal? I don't know. There is something about it that I really like. I wasn't feeling like that earlier in the week when I was sat there for 2 hours trying to troubleshoot this thing. But, you know, I love modding, and if you are into modding and you like those sort of processes and that problem solving, you go through that whole frustrating process, but it can be really satisfying in the end. So if you think that might be for you, go for it. If you're going to try one, or if you're not going to try one, let me know in the comments and tell me why. If you enjoyed this, I will be absolutely made up if you could leave a like. I've got loads of ideas for new content coming up, so if you subscribe and sign up for notifications, you'll be the first to see those when they come. This is Joe Bleeps signing off from the shed. I've got some more content popping up here if you want to keep watching me. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.